Hey there, my name is Rally, and today I'm going to show you how to build an e-commerce store using AI and with zero technical knowledge. So a bit of background about me before that. I ran a startup in Europe that was doing equipment rental in Paris from 2021 to 2024. We scaled this business to 10,000 orders. It was on PrestaShop, but we had to shut it down ultimately. After that, I helped a lot of e-commerce stores scale their acquisition and distribution, both on Shopify and WooCommerce. And in parallel, I learned how to code, so I started doing a lot of code with AI. I even shipped an e-commerce store that does 30K in monthly revenue. And today I want to show you how to build your own using AI and with zero technical knowledge. I want to show it to you so that you can see what we can do together. So here we have the admin backend of the store with the users, with the orders, with the products and the content. It's a wellness app that sells coachings. Here we have the front end, and you can see, and we have the user dashboard. You have even a lot of features like journaling, check-ins, workouts, nutritions. Here you can see the Stripe dashboard. It's perfectly integrated with Stripe. And finally here you have analytics, where you can see everything is perfectly tracked. So I managed to do that by creating a framework that is called the blueprint. Basically, what we do is that we give AI enough context to create the code that you need at each step. Why do we need to do that? Is because AI has a very limited context limit, meaning that you cannot give it all the information you want and you cannot ask it to create the whole code. So we had to come up with a loop that gives it the context it needs to create gradually the app or the web app that we're going to build. I'm going to walk you through that with clear documentation, with prompts, with guidance, and you'll see that you can do that with zero technical knowledge beside what we're going to see here in this app. So today we're going to work on Zenimi, which is a French company that sells shoes in Europe. They have a Shopify store. They're doing 7 figures in annual revenue, and they're willing to change because they're feeling very frustrated by what they're facing in terms of limitations and in terms of potential to generate value for their business. And if you stay with us until the end of the video, you'll see the founder of the company giving us her direct feedback and reaction to this experience. So let's go. All right, so the very first step for me is to explain to you exactly how AI does the code and how orchestration works, with clearly showing how you're gonna interact with the AI model. So to give you an idea of the structure, you have a blueprint, which is a foundation documentation that contains every technical aspect, every business aspect, and of course, every specific element related to the business, like the design, the visual elements, and any detail you might want to add or need to add. And then you have a living documentation. There is a change log. So it just records all the changes and gives the AI a very clear view, a very clear picture of the current code. And so this is how AI knows where the code is. This is how AI knows where the dependencies are. And it knows how to build on top of the existing code at each step of the building of the website. And so I'm going to show you how to set up this loop, because it's a context optimization loop. Because the reason why we need to come up with this kind of system is because the context is limited and AI has no memory, even though models got much, much better in the last month. So let's dig into that. So to give you more visibility on how those documents look like, you have the template of the blueprint here, which contains all the technical information, visual, and all the elements that we discussed. And here you have the implementation status report, that is the living change log that contains all the information that have been done and that the AI needs to know before moving to another chunk of coding. So before we move forward, I need to take a few seconds to explain to you what is the LLM we're going to use and how it works. So we're going to use Claude Code, which is a feature of Claude, a model from Anthropic. Anthropic is like OpenAI, for those who don't know. It's the best one at coding, and it's also the best one at orchestrating a code base creation. A code base is the repository where all your files are, and Claude Code is really good at following this optimization loop that we discussed and to execute it with a clear implementation plan and, of course, iterations in each step to make sure each one of it is fully delivered. So we're going to set up Claude. So to do that, you just have to open the terminal. If you're on a MacBook, you just need to go to Apps, you need to go to Utilities, and then to Terminal. And here, you just type npm install Claude. So on my computer, it's up to date. If you don't have it on your computer, it's going to install it. And if you have any issue with that, you can type sudo npm install Claude, type your MacBook password, and it bypasses all the securities so that you're sure that it's fully installed on your computer. Then you need to navigate to your project, because here you can see that this is the path we're working on, which is the root of the MacBook. To navigate to the project, we're going to make it very easy. Here we're going to go to my desktop. I've created a demo file. I'm just going to take this demo file, copy demo as path name, then come back to terminal and you type cd, you paste this path name, and there you're inside. You can see that I'm in demo. And then last step, you just type in Claude, and it's going to open the window to ask you if you're ready to code here. Of course, you type yes, and then you're in. It's probably going to prompt you to create an account. So you just need to follow all the steps to create an account. I have the Claude Max subscription, which allows me to have very, very high usage, but you can just start with the 20 or 22 bucks subscription, and you could have enough usage for the project that we're going to do. Now that we have Claude Code running, we can start to initialize our documentation. So now that we have Claude fully set up, what we need to do is to create this documentation. So to do that, I've written a small prompt that you can reuse. It's going to be in the description, that asks Claude to read the template of the blueprint and to read the content of the existing homepage of this website, because we have a website for this business, and create a documentation based on that. But it's going to be done in a few steps. So the very first step is to ask Claude to read the template, read the content, and then ask us some clarification questions, so that we're going to build with it this documentation. So let's start with the very first step now. I have the prompt right here that we can go copy and paste. We're going to give it blueprint template here. That is here. And we're going to give it the content here. All right, it's not here, it's text edit. All right, great. So let's read this prompt, because I want to show you the correct structure to prompt AI. It doesn't necessarily need to be long, it just needs to be really concise and with clear instructions. So I'm asking it to help me to build an online store. I needed to help me design the store's documentation. The very first step is to read the template, then analyze the documents of the existing store, and finally ask me all the necessary questions you need to build the most relevant blueprint. So here we're showing it how to do his reasoning. Then we explain what it is about. The store is for a barefoot shoe company based in France. They sell only in France and offer a small selection of models. Their store is modern, simple, and well designed. Here we're giving it intuitions, or we're giving it just small elements, not everything, so that we can orient the thinking without biasing it too much. And so then we're giving it instructions to think harder, to give a robust but simple questionnaire. And of course, we insist on it, because AI can sometimes go very deep in over-engineering some things and can also oversee some very important things. So giving it some structured instructions on how to think and what we expect from it is really important. So let's go. We can type enter. So now it has designed a very specific questionnaire. So it said, I've carefully read the blueprint. I can see this is a French barefoot shoe company with a clean, minimalist approach. For now, let me proceed with the comprehensive questions. We're going to have a blueprint section. So it follows the blueprint template. And then we have a lot of questions, 85 questions, but we're not going to answer them one by one. We're going to ask it, use the questions feature, and prompt me to answer them with prepared answers. AI is pretty good at preparing answers and giving you a wide selection of options that probably one of them would match your need. So what's your current technical situation? Rebuild existing site from scratch, improve or grade, launch first, migrate to new platform. We're going to migrate because we're moving to from Shopify to a custom platform. What's your preferred technical approach? Custom Next.js for Stripe. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to explain later what is Next.js, but we're creating a custom website in a coding language, which is Next.js. We're not using WooCommerce, that is an existing platform, or Shopify. And Stripe is how to process payments. I guess most of you know what Stripe does. Then for the timeline, we're going to do it ASAP. For the product range, how many shoes do we currently offer? We can say 5 different models. And then we're going to submit those answers. And it's going to prompt me to answer this questionnaire at each section. So I'm going to accelerate a bit to show you how the end blueprint looks like. All right, so now it's asking for data. About that, we're gonna provide it data manually. We don't want to put the product export CSV. We're gonna add the data manually. We're gonna give it information and just rebuild it from scratch. It's always better because you are able to truly customize the experience instead of creating a system that is designed around the Shopify export, which is, in my opinion, not the best way to do it. The reason why is that it's going to set up a lot of boundaries because you gave it a frame, which is the Shopify export. And this is the trick with building with AI and using historical documents, is that we need to make sure we use it only as inputs for context and not for structure. The structure needs to be optimized for the new code and, of course, for the business needs. All right, so now we've just answered the last questions. We have a final check question. We've covered everything, and then we're gonna submit the answers. So you can see that this questionnaire part took a few minutes and is pretty important because it gives it a lot of structure to build the blueprint template, and the blueprint is the documentation that it's gonna follow throughout the whole coding process. So now we can see the summary of everything that we've done. We need to say to Claude Code to do it. So I have a small prompt right here that we're gonna copy paste into Claude Code. So let's go. We're gonna ask it to do it. It's gonna take a few minutes. So let's wait for it to create a document. We can see that the Claude.md file has been created. It contains all the information that we need for our store. So we're gonna accept the creation. So the next step is to work on an implementation plan. And this step is as important as the ones we've been working on because we're giving AI the good structure for our project. When I say it's important, it's because you know that the context is limited. So you cannot ask the AI to build the whole app based on this blueprint. So we need to create an implementation plan that is going to give it the right balance of chunking and logic, of course, because some parts needs to be built before other parts, so that it can build progressively with clear and logical iterations the whole app without breaking at some point. So now we're going to ask it to create, like I said, those two documents. We have a prompt here. We're going to copy paste it, and we're going to give it the template of the implementation status report. It's right here and right here. Again, keep in mind, I'm going to provide you with all those templates and all those prompts so that you can go pretty fast. You see here it's asking me questions, so it's pretty important to answer them because those are much more technical. So do you want me to use TypeScript? We're going to answer yes. About database, we're going to use Supabase, which is the easiest one to implement. We're going to see how it works together. For the implementation, should I break it into phases or atomic tasks? So we're going to ask it to do phases so that we have big sections, and inside those sections, we're going to have tasks. And about the task details, we're going to ask it to have a balanced approach. Is better because if we click on detail specifications, we might have it right in the documentation, very detailed elements such as the whole file. Sorry. So let's ask it to do balanced approach, and then we can submit. So the implementation plan is ready. You can see here it's pretty detailed. This is exactly what we wanted to do: is to have self-contained phases, so that we can work by phase, and then inside each phase we have small tasks so that we can ask it to implement tasks independently. So we're going to accept the creation of this file. You see it's much bigger than the blueprint, which is good. And now it's going to create the status report. So the report is ready, and you can see that it is, of course, empty, but it has placeholders of all the elements that are in the implementation plan, which is good. So let's go. We're going to create it. So here you can see that our 3 documents are ready. We can say that we have a fully documented product and a fully documented project, of course. So you can see the project structure, and of course you can see that we have fully mapped every relevant element at this stage through the questionnaire, then through the blueprint, then through the plan, and of course the living changelog that is going to be initialized after the first task. To begin with the implementation, we need to ask it, of course, to start, but we cannot just ask it to start like that. So I've created a prompt and a small loop at this step that asks the AI to take the next task, analyze it, perform an audit of the code base thanks to documentation and to dependencies, and create an implementation plan. And I manually review this implementation plan at all stages, because it makes sure that it doesn't over-engineer, it doesn't go too deep, and of course, it doesn't forget some elements. This is the prompt. I'm gonna copy paste it here, and we can read it together. So let's implement the next task. I'm talking about task only, not phase. I need to perform a thorough analysis on how to implement it. And then I'm just asking it to think harder. I'm insisting on the criticality and telling it to not implement anything now, just the action plan. And this gives us a very clear idea of what is going to be done. Great, so now we have the implementation plan. Let's just review it pretty fast and make sure it's 100% relevant. So it has checked the environment, the existing assets, and the risk assessment. It looks to me pretty clean. And of course, see here the architecture, how it's going to create. Of course, it's going to have some trouble creating it, but we're going to guide it a bit. And this is something that requires a bit of experience. So I think it's going to be important to stay focused on that one. So yes, implement it meticulously. So here you see phase 1 has been done. The safety backup was created. Phase 2. So here you can see that if you just remember the architecture to set up, we have the blueprint, we have the implementation plan. In the implementation plan, you have phases, and in those phases we have tasks. And now you can see that in those tasks we have phases. So as you can see that we have a very clear tree that we're using to implement and to keep a lot of structure in our implementation loop. Yes, we can create a file. It's going to create a bunch of files and debug itself when necessary. At this stage, I don't think there is need for debugging, except for sometimes credentials, but this is pretty easy to do. So a lot of files have been created, and I think that most of them are compliant. There was no debugging, but let's double check that together. So now we finished the first 10 phases. It was pretty fast, and now we're at phase 11. We're verifying everything. We're going to have a clear answer and view of our initial implementation. So those tests are automatic tests, return errors if there is any code problem. And now you can see here that we have a loop that AI has created to update the GitHub repository that I explained automatically as long as it adds a new thing. We're going to set up the GitHub account later. Now it's not set yet. Now, to just double check all of that, we're going to start the dev server and check it in the browser. And click Ctrl O and see it's on localhost 3000. And then click Ctrl O again. And then we can go here, we go to guest mode, we do Google, set as default, and we check localhost. And here we can see that we have our website initialized. This is a placeholder homepage, of course, but everything works as expected at this stage. You see, it's still verifying that everything loads automatically. Now you see that it has done everything alone. It's gonna finish the last steps, stop the development server, and then give us a clear view of what we've done. Great, so there is the clear recap of what has been done. It's great. Now, as you all expected, we need to update the implementation status report. So let's do that. I have a prompt for that we can use, of course, later. Let's copy paste it. Let's get it here, copy, then you go back here, then we can paste it. Now you can see that the status report has been updated. So all the red lines are the deletions and the green lines are the additions. So you can see that it has updated with everything that we've created, the structure, etc. And there is an interesting thing here is that you can see that this whole discussion with AI, so since we've started the blueprint, made us hit the context limit. So now, thanks to our whole loop, we're gonna bypass this context limit because we have 100% of the context clearly structured for our next step. So we're gonna type compact. It's gonna compact this whole conversation and recreate a new one with some of the context, but our documentation will make the context very reliable. Let's wait for the compacting to end, and then we can move forward to the next step. So now the conversation has been compacted. I'm gonna write a new prompt to ask it to move to the next phase by giving it some context. So that's so that you understand exactly what happened is that we've initialized an empty conversation with Claude. We worked on different things. Then we hit the context limit. So what happens is that it compacts this conversation, but the truth is it's not relevant as the documentation that we've set up. So we're gonna ask it to read the documentation, read the implementation plan, and then give us the action plan for phase 0, task 2, because we did task 1. Let's go. So I've pasted this prompt. All right, so we have the action plan and the implementation plan of task 0.2 that we're working on the database and the environment configuration. And what is good that AI prompts us to create an account with clear instructions, and then, of course, to install those elements in the code base. So let's start with the very first step and create the Supabase account. So let's go to supabase.com, start project. We're gonna sign up. Verify the email. Then we're gonna create the organization, which is enemy. Type startup free database password, and after that we need to get the credentials. All right. So it's settings. Let's go to project URL. Let's type it here. Use this. Then we got the inner public key, and we got the service role is all right. So I think we're all done. All right, so we have the variables. Now we can launch the implementation. We can implement the whole task. Let's do this. All right. So now the implementation starts, and you'll be prompted to validate or to amend or to sometimes do some actions like we did here with the Supabase creation. All right, so now it has created the files, created scripts to test, because it's important to test what we did, and it's going to run a test on the DB, which is database connection. Let's see what we get. We got an error, which is our first error. Let's see how AI is going to debug it. So now the test works because we have a connection failed because it's looking for a table that doesn't exist, because in the database, data is stored as elements in tables, but we haven't created any table, which is pretty good news. All right, it's perfect. Now let's test the health check API endpoint. A URL we're calling to test that the backend at this stage, of course, is fully working. Seems like we're good. Status is okay. The endpoint returned, status is okay. Database connected, message database connection successful, which is good. So now we have a working web app with a working database. Now we're running code quality checks to make sure that all the added code didn't break anything in the code base. Now that we've finished the integration of this task, you can see here a recap with everything that we've done and the acceptance criteria that are all met that were based on our implementation plan. So now we're gonna copy paste the prompt to update the status report. So the implementation status report has been updated, and here you can see, like in the step before, everything has been updated and it's ready for the next one. So we're going to use the same loop, we're going to compact it and then use the same prompts. And here you can see that the conversation is too long. That could happen, and I'm glad it happened so that you can see what needs to be done in that case. You need to press on Control and C so that you exit. You see here we're out of Claude Code, so we restart Claude. And so what happens now is that we have created a new discussion, but as our documentation is extremely clean and precise, we can do that. And if you need to code the project in a few days, weeks, if you don't have time, just finish each task, update the documentation, and then you can come back at it. It's pretty good and it works pretty well. So let's move forward with task 3 of phase 0. So as we did in our last implementation, this prompt needs to be used whenever we restart the conversation because it gives it enough context, but I think you got this point and we can go ahead. Now we have the action plan of task 0.3 and we're gonna trust it and implement it. Let's go implement it and give me instructions to do any action outside the code base. Now to give you more sight on this task, it's the tables creation in a database. It's really easy. We just need to create one table per element: products, product variants, customers, addresses, orders, order items, and sessions. So it's going to prompt me to do that. So here you can see that the AI has done a lot of things, wrote a lot of files, migrations, created files, modified existing files to adapt to those new files. So you can see that all the dependencies are taken into consideration. So now we're running a build. The build means that we're building the whole web app. And if we have an error, this shows that our code needs to be fixed. Now you can see that it's green, so it's working. And now we need to do this final step, which is a small step. So we're going to open the dashboard. I'm going to go to table editor, SQL editor, sorry. I'm going to go back here. So we need to open this file, Superbase migrations initial schema. It was Superbase migrations initial schema. And then it says to copy everything and to paste everything and execute. Let's do that. We pasted everything, we click on run, we have success, and we should see all the tables here. That is great. So then we need to run the test. We're gonna say it that we have successfully created the tables in the Superbase UI. Go ahead and test the migration. The database works because the test works. All right, so we can see that all the tests have been done. So we can say that we're good. We're going to use our prompt to make sure that it does it perfectly. And here you can see that the loop is closing once again. So let's wait for the implementation to get updated and move forward to the next task. Documentation has been updated. So now we need to compact the conversation and prepare the prompt. So this is the prompt, and we're going to wait for our action plan for task 4 of phase 0. So as mentioned, you can see that the formatting utilities are currency, dates, language local, so here it's French, schemas, standardized API response helpers, and custom error classes hierarchy. So those are pretty important, and I think we can just ask the AI, let's go implement this meticulously. So the full task has been done, and as you can see here, it has created files, it has updated files, created test scripts, of course, and then it ran a lot of tests, and we got everything good. So you can see that the results are going well, and you can see that we're going much faster than before. We're going to just ask it to update the implementation status, and then move to the task 5. All right, so the file has been updated. Let's do as we did for the last steps. But as we have our documentation, we can just do this, and so let's wait for Claude to read again the documentation and give us the action plan. All right, so you can see here we have an initial action plan. I'm going to implement it meticulously. What basically we're doing is that we're preparing the design system of the app. So you can see that this step was quite fast. So we updated the files. Now it created a test page, which will contain everything that is related to design so that we can see if it's as we expected or change it before moving forward. So it's localhost 3000 / design system. Let's check that. Okay, so here we can see the color palette. We can see that this is not showing. Actually, most of the colors are not showing. About typography, about all of this, I think we can agree. Here we have placeholders. Okay, great. Sounds good. Cards. Okay. I think there is only this color part that needs to be fixed. Let's do this with Claude. I'm on the page. Everything looks good, except in the color. Cards. I don't see any color. All the cards are white. Here. And we're gonna do a copy paste so that it knows exactly where we are. So we just asked the AI to double check the screenshots and to probably fix the error that is not rendering for the colors. Great, so here you can see that it has updated some elements following the analysis of the screenshots and the precisions I gave it, and let's see how it looks like. Okay, great. So we are perfectly good. We have everything we need, and this matches perfectly the existing design system of the company. Great, everything is accurate. Go ahead. So now it's gonna delete those testing pages and update the documentation accordingly. All right, so I'm very happy to tell you that we finished the very first step of this project creation. Very small recap. We've created documentation. I showed you how to put and to implement the implementation loop, and then we've used this loop for 5 times, 1 time per task, to iterate on the project. You're seeing that the AI does an excellent job at creating, testing, updating documentation, and then looping on itself. So stay tuned for the next episode because we'll go much deeper in the implementation and you'll start seeing some very nice things. Thank you for watching. The first episode is done, and this is Chloe, the founder of Zenimi. She's with us today, and she's been with us this whole episode to give us her feedback and to show us how game changer it was for the company and for her in the future.
Thank you very much, Ghali, for taking time. It was really interesting. As a non-technical founder, I launched my store with an existing e-commerce platform. It was really easy to use, but once you are serving more customers and need more specific features, limitations show and it gets really frustrating. But as you've seen, coding with AI using this methodology is super intuitive and easy. I can't wait to move on to the next step, finish and launch the store.
Great. Let's meet in the next episode. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.